Now on KGW News. It's hard to believe more snow is on the way. And for some Oregon farmers,
well, it's nerve-wracking. It's very nerve-wracking.
the crop of Oregon cherries hinging on these giant fans.
Plus, stranded in the snow.
Doesn't feel like that really happened. It's like a dream.
An epic night surrounded by falling trees.
And later, Portland's effort to get big money out of city politics.
Plus, armed robbers on the run shoot at sheriff's deputies and trigger a massive search. Your news starts now.
And good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Laurel Porter. Are you ready for more April snow? After historic snowfall Monday and a dynamic day of both hail and sun today, the unseasonable weather continues.
And let's get straight to Chief Meteorologist Matt Safino. And Matt, we have seen so much already. I'm almost afraid to ask what's coming in the next few hours.
Yeah, right. You know what? It's just cold out there. We're raining in Portland. It is raining downtown. But it's 38 degrees, so we're not that far from snow. And there's an east wind, and that also lends itself to the forecast becoming snowier, which it has a little bit. We are now under, yet again, a winter weather advisory until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning for the metro area. It does not include areas farther south of Canby. So parts of Yamhill, Marion counties not in that advisory, but the Coast Range is. Of course, all of Clark County up through southwest Washington and the Cascade foothills. And the reason for that advisory is because our prospect for having snow in the morning has ticked up just a little bit. Now, for the elevations above 500 feet, it's basically the same forecast. I think there's a slightly better chance of getting snow on the valley floor again tomorrow morning. But we're talking about a trace to maybe an inch of snow. You can see precipitation over us right now. Again, still largely rain in the valleys, but the snow will be increasing as this area of low pressure approaches the coast and we pick up just a little bit of a slight east wind. And if these precipitation rates become heavy, then that increases our chance of getting snow once again. This will not be a repeat of Monday morning, but in the hills could get slippery with 1 to 3 inches of snow falling up there. Possible thunderstorms again tomorrow afternoon, and still staying cool and showery for the rest of the week. So more on the morning forecast, guys, in a bit. Back to you.
Here we go. We're along for the ride. Thanks,
Buckle
Matt.
up.
All right, most parts of the metro area may be free of snow for now. There are still streets in northwest Portland that are closed because of downed trees. One couple happened to be driving on those roads right as that initial storm began. It took just a few minutes for them to get stuck and entirely cut off. Alma McCarty heard their harrowing tale tonight. She joins us now from northwest Portland. Hi, Alma.
Hi, David. And their names are Michael and Lisa Silk. And by the way, the roads you see here behind me, Northwest Skyline, Northwest Cornell, those are still closed tonight because of downed trees. And just beyond, bad timing and treacherous conditions meant that this couple spent hours on Monday stuck in their car, stuck in the snow, waiting to be rescued.
Snowy conditions caught many off guard on Monday.
This is our camping spot for last night.
But it's possible Michael and Lisa Silk ended up in some of the worst of it.
That was the road that you just saw.
After leaving a friend's house in the West Hills.
This is where we camped.
The couple spent 12 hours stuck here on Northwest Germantown Road near Skyline after their Prius slid off the road just after midnight Monday.
In the car in the background.
In the back.
Luckily, we were only going 20 miles an hour, but it just went right into a hillside.
And if we had moved the car, gotten the car out of the ditch, we couldn't go anywhere. I mean, we heard the limbs cracking over our heads and falling, and we had snowballs hitting our roof.
With roads blocked by downed trees, a tow truck couldn't get to them, and neither could Portland police. They said dispatchers told them to stay put.
We didn't want to get stranded outside at 33 degrees with no winter clothes. So yeah, we better stay in the car until we have to get out of the car.
Before noon,
looked like they'd been there overnight.
They got a call from Washington County Sheriff's Office Sergeant Jesse Baker.
They were surrounded by trees and in a lot of snow, but they were okay. They were just couldn't get out.
And says, I will get to you. I will come.
Well,
and we were thinking, no, you will not get to us because there's trees everywhere. But he says, nope, I'm coming.
Along with a PPB officer and a deputy, Sergeant Baker made his way to them despite all the obstacles.
We were going to do everything we could. Even if we had to walk down there and get them, we were going to get them.
We walked up, we heard a chainsaw going, and we knew we were getting closer to someone was up there.
Someone was. It might not be Officer Baker, but someone was a
Someone was
chainsaw. So that's a
chainsaw.
good thing.
And as we came around, he said, "Are you the Prius people?" I was like, "Yeah, that's us."
The trek out, just as challenging as the trek in. With the help of a neighbor who had a tractor, they were finally in the clear.
I said, you know what, let's get a picture of this, because for me, I want to remember that, the big group of us.
And all smiles on the other side.
We all look very happy because I think we were all happy
We
that
got
we
out of there.
had a successful thing happen. We survived.
And the couple's Prius, yeah, it is still stuck on the road there tonight, but they said that the car, it was great. It kept running, meaning that it kept them warm, and it hardly used any gas. The Silks told me that they're just really grateful to be home, to be safe, to have this positive outcome. But if you still need to drive in this area in Northwest, you might want to check for road closures before you head out. We will have a list of those road closures currently on KGW.com.
Just one word for your story tonight. Wow. Alma, thank you very much. Okay, warming shelters in Multnomah County are now open. Those locations are up on your screen there. You can see them listed there. They opened at 8 tonight, and they'll be open until 8 in the morning. We talked to Multnomah County today about why they chose not to open up ahead of Sunday's overnight storm. A spokesperson says they rely on the National Weather Service forecasts, which they checked on Sunday morning.
Sunday night, the forecast was trending a lot warmer early in the day when we would have to make a decision. And the forecast changed throughout the day. I think everyone in this community was very surprised to wake up and see that much snow on the ground. If we would have known we were going to get that much snow, we would have probably opened also on Sunday night.
And the shelters tonight will also be supplying things like sleeping bags, hand warmers, boots, and socks.
We know how hard the snow was on trees around the metro region, but what about the rows and rows of fruit trees blooming in Oregon's orchards? Catherine Cook spent the day in Hood River to find out how the cherry crop is looking and what farmers are doing to try to save it.
It's usually sunny and 60 degrees.
Teresa Draper has never seen her cherry trees covered in snow
There, that's a good one.
this late in the season.
Some varieties are touchier than others.
A season which brought forth an early bloom due to late winter warmth.
No, that one's dead.
A combination
Yep, another dead one.
that scares her.
When I look out, I see January.
Draper owns Draper Girls Country Farm in Mount Hood Parkdale outside Hood River. In a typical year, they'll have a couple cold nights this late in the season. They can usually protect young blossoms with these fans that keep the frost from settling. But they can't run the fans in high wind, which usually accompanies snow showers. It's why Draper fears losing about a fourth of her cherry crop.
Just worry, just plain worry. Because it's just typically, again, we don't get this kind of weather during blossom time. We never get snow.
Well, it's nerve-wracking. It's very nerve-wracking.
Christoph Fowler is warehouse manager and orchard supervisor at Hood River Cherry Company. Each season, they produce about 4.5 million pounds of fruit. He estimates about 80% of the valley's orchard trees are now in bloom. The promise of fruit within each flower now just a hope.
The blossoms and the ovule will actually die when it's about 29 degrees. And so the night temperatures have been hitting 28.5 to 29. And it's borderline. You might get about 20% of your crop, damaged.
Fowler says despite the critical cold snap, he believes most crops will come to fruition. He hopes things aren't as bad as they might seem. He has to.
A lot of people go to Vegas to gamble, but farmers, they kind of gamble every year.
No, these are all good, which is great.
For Draper, every blossom that's still alive is a win this year.
So what if they get more late season snow next year? Well, the farm is already looking into buying some propane heaters to place around the orchard and hoping this never happens again.
I've never really felt like we needed them, but yes, after this year, really thinking that through.
The fruits of their labor may depend on it. In Hood River, Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Always a gamble, they say. We are pulling for them. Okay, let's get you caught up on tonight's other headlines. Sheriff's deputies in Gresham have stopped their intense search for a female suspect. She was one of 3 people investigators say were involved in an armed robbery that began at the Columbia Gorge outlets. Now, when police tried to chase their car, someone in it shot at officers and hit a cruiser. The suspects then crashed into another car near Northeast Sandy and 162nd. Police arrested 2 on the spot. The third person ran off, sparking that search and the lockdown in that area.
Oregon State Police tonight have identified the man shot and killed by Salem police. They say it happened after 28-year-old Taylor Osborne stole a car last night. While officers were processing the car, they say Osborne confronted them. Salem police described it as a violent fight during which one officer shot Osborne. Officers gave first aid until an ambulance got there, but Osborne was pronounced dead at the hospital.
Police in New York have identified what they're calling a person of interest after a gunman opened fire on the New York subway in Brooklyn. Investigators have now linked keys left at the scene to a 62-year-old named Frank James, who rented a U-Haul van in Philadelphia. Now, according to police, the gunman wore a gas mask and set off a smoke canister before he opened fire during the morning rush. 10 people were shot and wounded, and police say another 13 suffered injuries related to smoke, falls, or panic attacks. Terrifying scenes there. Okay, we're